So what's his take? What is a child, according to Master Chan Kuang?
He uses this phrase, sacred inheritance.
Ready for another deep dive. Today we're tackling something I think we all think about a lot. Raising successful children.
Oh, for sure. A big one.
Yeah, and we've got an interesting guide for this, a lecture by Master Chan Kuang.
The Vietnamese Buddhist teacher, right?
Exactly, and the title really got me. Teaching Children the Right Way.
Right to the point.
I know, but the way Master Chan Kuang starts, it's not what you'd expect.
Okay.
He doesn't jump into rules or, like, the 10 steps to perfect kids.
Oh, so what does he do?
He starts with this question like, what is a child?
I like that. Makes you stop and think before you even get to the raising part.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in, like, the how-to of parenting that we forget to, really consider who we're even dealing with.
Totally, totally. And I love that he, gets a little playful with it at first. He throws out these everyday definitions of a child, even some funny ones, but then he leads us to something much deeper.
So what's his take? What is a child, according to Master Chan Kuang?
He uses this phrase, sacred inheritance. And it's not just about family lineage, though that's definitely part of it. He connects it to society, to the nation, even humanity as a whole.
Wow, that's a huge perspective shift. Suddenly it's not just about raising my kid to be successful, but about their role in something much bigger.
Exactly. And he even, there's this part where he jokes about people maybe being worried about him, a monk, talking about continuing humanity, like a little wink to the audience.
I love those little moments where his personality comes through.
Me too. But it's also this reminder that legacy isn't just about having biological children, it's about the impact we have on the world.
Makes sense. So, okay, children are this sacred inheritance, carrying a legacy forward. But how does that tie into success? Because that's a word with a lot of different meanings.
He dives right into that too. He gives this really vivid example, a doctor whose parents were rice farmers. And for him, success is about each generation striving to be better than the last.
So not just materially better, but like better in terms of knowledge, skills, contributions.
Precisely. It's like this responsibility to surpass your parents almost.
That's pretty bold. I can already hear some parents pushing back on that,
He doesn't shy away from it, though. He actually says it's almost a crime if parents or teachers don't wish for their kids or students to excel beyond them.
Wow. I mean, I get it. It's about believing in human potential, not just ego. But it's still a strong statement.
Oh, absolutely. And to balance that out, he tells another story about this couple who's determined to teach their kids all about money, how to make it and keep it.
Okay, so far so good. It sounds pretty practical.
But he uses this to illustrate a danger, right? The danger of focusing so much on wealth that we neglect virtue and contribution.
Like, what's the point of all the money in the world if you lose your soul, kind of thing?
Exactly. And that leads to this huge point that Master Chan Kuang makes about parental example.
Ooh, okay, lay it on me.
He's basically saying before you even think about teaching your kids anything directly, look at yourself.
But hold up, he's saying actions speak louder than words.
Way louder. And he doesn't just rely on common sense here. He actually brings up scientific research, studies that show how much a child's environment shapes who they become, especially the adults around them.
Really? So even more so than genetics?
That's what he suggests, yeah.
So like, if I'm constantly stressed and snapping at people, my kid's more likely to pick up on those traits than if I just, lecture them about being calm.
It's not that simple, obviously, but yeah, that's the general idea. And he gives really specific examples like filial piety.
That's respect for your elders.
Right. And he says if parents demonstrate that to their parents, the kids are more likely to embody that value.
So it's not just about telling them to be respectful. It's about showing them what respect looks like in action. I'm starting to see how subtle this is.
It really is. And the examples keep coming. Parents who are lifelong learners, their kids are more likely to love learning. He tells this really moving story about a father who's working on being more patient, trying to find his calm, and without even realizing it, his son starts reflecting those same qualities.
That's amazing. It's like our kids are these little mirrors reflecting back what we're putting out into the world.
Powerful image, right?
It's kind of scary, but also inspiring. Like, I have this power to influence this little human in such a profound way.
Exactly. And just to really drive home this point about actions over words, there's this other anecdote about a father who buys some snacks and then gives a portion to a beggar he passes on the street.
It's a tiny action, but it speaks volumes.
Right. And the kid will remember that far more than a lecture on being charitable.
Totally. Okay, this idea that our kids are constantly observing us, even when we think they're not paying attention. That's huge.
It's foundational to Master Chan Kuang's whole approach. Really sets the stage for everything else he talks about.
So we've established our kids are always watching, learning from what we do, not just what we say. But what about the more practical stuff like discipline, setting boundaries?
Oh, he definitely gets into that. And he starts by acknowledging it's not easy. He even calls it an art, needing technique and heart, not just following a rigid set of rules.
I like that because sometimes I feel like I'm just winging it, hoping for the best. It's reassuring to hear even a master teacher acknowledge that this stuff is hard.
Yeah, and he cautions against that winging it approach. He says parents need to be prepared, not just reacting to every little thing as it comes up.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do you prepare for, like, every possible parenting scenario?
He doesn't give a, literal manual or anything, but one area he focuses on is praise.
Praise. I thought we were supposed to be encouraging our kids, telling them they're doing great.
We do, but Master Chan Kuang warns about praising the wrong things. He gives this example, kind of startling, about a boy who learns to steal because he was praised for taking a lighter.
Oh, wow. Okay, so our words, even with good intentions, can have unintended consequences.
Exactly. So then how do we know what to praise, what to discourage? Feels like a minefield sometimes.
Seriously, every decision feels huge.
And this is where we get to what I think is at the core of Master Chan Kuang's teaching, the importance of obedience and cultivating a sense of no self.
Okay, no self.
Yeah.
This is where I sometimes get lost in Buddhist teachings. What does that even mean for, raising kids? Are we supposed to raise little robots with no personality?
That's a common misunderstanding, and Master Chan Kuang addresses it directly. No self is not about erasing individuality or forcing blind obedience. It's about something much deeper.
Okay, I'm listening. What is it about then?
Think of it this way. When we're consumed by our own ego, our desires, our sense of me first, it's hard to see beyond ourselves, right?
For sure.
So obedience, in Master Chan Kuang's view, it's about training the mind to let go of that ego clinging, to develop selflessness.
So it's not about blind submission. It's about learning to put something bigger than yourself first.
You got it. And he even uses this analogy that might surprise you, the military.
Whoa. Okay, hold on. He's not advocating for, harsh authoritarian parenting, is he?
No, not at all. But he points out that in the military, discipline isn't about crushing individuality. It's about learning to work together, to sacrifice for the greater good.
Interesting. So following rules, putting the group's needs first, that can actually build a stronger, more virtuous character.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
But he's very clear that this has to happen in a loving, safe environment. He tells a story about a family where the father values discipline highly and encourages his son to join the army. It's not about forcing the kid into a mold. It's about showing him the potential benefits of a disciplined life.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this no-self idea works. But how do we actually cultivate it in our kids? It still feels a little abstract.
Well, that's where Master Chan Kuang gets really practical. He gives us this kind of roadmap, outlines specific steps parents can take.
All right, I'm ready for the roadmap. What's step one?
It all starts with unconditional love. That means physical affection, appropriate indulgence, but also balanced discipline. Creating that foundation of love and security is crucial.
That makes sense. Kids need to know they're loved for who they are before we could even start asking them to think about selflessness. What's next?
He emphasizes the importance of respect for authority, instilling a sense of duty. This is where obedience comes in, but it's not blind obedience. It's about understanding that rules and boundaries exist for a reason.
Like even little things, like saying please and thank you, waiting their turn.
Exactly. Those small acts of courtesy lay the groundwork for a deeper understanding of respect for others.
And that leads to, reporting actions. I remember that from the outline, but I'm not sure what it means.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. It's basically encouraging kids to ask permission before they do something and then report back afterwards. It might sound strict, but it's about building open communication and accountability.
So less about control, more about teaching them to think before they act and be responsible.
You got it. And along with that, politeness, respectful language, no harsh words, using proper forms of address.
Simple stuff, but it all ties back to those core values of respect and consideration. So love, respect, communication. What else is on the list?
Learning to yield. To put others' needs before your own, like sharing with siblings, helping around the house, even just listening when someone else is talking.
It's about building empathy, right? Understanding that other people have feelings and needs just like you do. It seems like all these steps build on each other, creating a foundation for, you know, a less self-centered way of living.
You're getting it. And then the final piece is learning to accept criticism without resentment. This is a tough one, even for adults.
Oh, tell me about it.
But Master Chan Kuang believes it's crucial for growth.
So it's about teaching them to see feedback, even negative feedback, as an opportunity to learn and improve.
Exactly. Developing resilience, understanding that we're all works in progress. And here's the thing. He doesn't just say to cultivate no self without explaining why. He outlines 4 incredible benefits that come with it.
Oh, okay, I'm intrigued. What are the benefits of no self? How does it translate into a better life?
Well, first, there's increased virtue and moral development. When we let go of ego, we're less driven by selfish desires, more inclined to act ethically.
Makes sense. Less me, more likely to be kind and compassionate.
Second, enhanced resilience and self-control. When we're less attached to our ego, setbacks don't throw us off balance as easily.
So we're better at bouncing back from adversity. That's a good skill for anyone, especially these days.
For sure. And then third, a shift towards altruism, living for others. As we shed that egocentric view, we start to see how interconnected we all are.
Like we're part of something bigger than ourselves.
Right. And that leads to more compassion, a desire to contribute to the well-being of others.
It's not just about personal happiness then. It's about making a positive impact.
Exactly. And finally, the fourth benefit is abundant blessings, a flourishing life. Living with no self creates positive karma, attracts positive energy.
So by letting go of ego, we actually open ourselves up to more happiness and fulfillment.
That's the idea. And this leads to Master Chan Kuang's more practical advice for parents, which we can get into now.
All right, so we've talked about no self, the power of example, all that. But I'm curious about like the nitty-gritty stuff. Does Master Chan Kuang give any specific tips for, actually raising kids with these values in the real world?
Oh, for sure. He gets really practical. And some of it might sound, almost obvious at first. But when you look at it through the lens of no self, it takes on a whole new meaning.
Okay, give me an example. What kind of practical advice does he give?
Well, one thing he talks about is the importance of exposing kids to stories of virtue, good deeds. Instead of gossiping or focusing on negativity, we should be feeding their minds with positive examples.
Makes sense. Like curating their mental diet, making sure they're getting good nutrients for their character development.
I love that analogy. And another one that struck me was his advice on teaching resilience, especially in the face of poverty. He sees poverty not just as a lack of material things, but as a potential opportunity to develop strength of character and contentment.
Huh, that's interesting. We often try to shield our kids from hardship, but maybe a little struggle is good for them.
Master Chan Kuang seems to think so. It's about teaching them to find joy and meaning even in difficult circumstances, which ultimately leads to greater inner strength.
Yeah, I can see that. So resilience and poverty.
Yeah.
What else?
He's also big on instilling courage in the face of evil.
Okay, this sounds intense. What does he say about that?
He encourages parents to teach their kids to never follow evildoers out of fear and to always believe in the possibility of redemption.
Wow, that's powerful. It's about fostering a sense of righteousness, moral strength, even when faced with darkness.
Exactly. And, he doesn't just stay in these, big abstract concepts. He also tackles some of the real-world challenges that the parents face, like puberty, sexuality.
Yeah, that's a big one. A lot of parents I know really struggle with how to approach those conversations.
Master Chan Kuang advocates for being open, honest, creating that safe space where kids can ask questions, learn about sexuality, healthy relationships.
Makes sense. If they're not getting accurate information from us, they'll probably get it from somewhere else, and that might not be so good.
Right. And he goes deeper than just, the mechanics of sex ed. He talks about teaching kids to differentiate between infatuation and true love, helping them understand that those fleeting emotions aren't the same as a genuine, lasting connection.
It's about helping them approach relationships with wisdom, discernment, not just getting swept up in hormones and, superficial stuff.
You got it. And then he touches on something really important to him, fostering a love of country and spirituality.
This resonates with me too. How do we instill these values in a world that feels increasingly globalized, secular?
He believes it starts with nurturing patriotism
Yeah.
and appreciation for one's own culture. He even specifically addresses students who are studying abroad. He urges them to stay connected to their homeland, preserve their cultural heritage, even while they're immersing themselves in a new environment.
It's about finding that balance, embracing the world, but honoring your roots.
Right. And of course, as a Buddhist teacher, he emphasizes introducing children to the Dharma, creating a positive association with the temple, that kind of thing.
Giving them that spiritual framework that can provide guidance and meaning.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Wow, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive. Master Chan Kuang's approach to raising kids is so nuanced, so multifaceted. It's not just about like checklists or techniques. It's about cultivating a way of being, both in ourselves and in our children.
I completely agree. And what's striking to me is that his teachings, they're not just for parents, right? Even if you don't have kids, these ideas about no self, leading by example, living a virtuous life, it's all relevant.
It's so true. It's a roadmap for being better humans ourselves, not just raising children.
Exactly.
As we wrap up, it makes me wonder, what kind of legacy do you want to leave on the world? What seeds are you planting through your actions, your words, your way of being? It's something to think about.
It really is. And on that note, we'll conclude our deep dive into Master Chan Kuang's teachings. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into a fascinating topic. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning.